What is F? Polls. Oh, how do you get polls here?
Right then, I think we will get going and introduce the event. Thank you for reminding me that my mic was muted. I don't think I'm the only one that's happened to. Well, good morning and welcome to the Final Money Festival event. As always, we appreciate you taking your time to expand your knowledge and become more educated on money. And we hope that you leave today feeling more empowered about your choices involving money and you'll have a better relationship with money. Please make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Money Festival 2020 for more updates following the next competition we have going on. The terms and calls of the event will be posted in the chat and have also been sent via email. This call will be recorded. Please ensure your mics are muted and webcams are off during the presentation. There will be an allowance for a Q&A as always at the end of the call. Please save your questions until the end or post them in the chat to be addressed after the presentation. I'm sure you've heard before, but we have this exciting competition in which you can participate, in which you can win 5 £50 equivalent gift vouchers and 5 books. Well, we have 5 books to give away from Professor Alan Barrell to be won by creating your own money art, expressing your perception and relationship with money. The competition website is live. It will be posted in the chat box. It's run by our partners 12 Runners Prizes. Developed by the 12 Ronnies Foundation, which supports ideas and innovation through prize competitions. Further details of how you can enter the competition, the categories of entry, and how you can have your voice heard can be found on the competition website and on our Instagram and Facebook. Now, to our illustrious guest speakers, Professor Beatriz Acevedo, an activist and lecturer concerned with education for sustainable development and action learning, and Victoria Tait, our very own ARU Education for Sustainability Coordinator with key industrial knowledge.
Thank you. Can I make a start now? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you so much for having us today. So I'm going to kick off. I'm going to speak for about 15 minutes. And then I'm going to hand over to the wonderful Beatrice, and she's going to talk for about 15 minutes. And we're leaving plenty of time at the end for a Q&A, so hopefully we'll have a really good discussion. So I will start by sharing my screen. Okay, can everyone see that okay? Yeah. Yeah, so my name is Victoria, and I am a lecturer practitioner in education for sustainability. And I am based at the Global Sustainability Insititute at Anglia-Ruskin University. So this is one of, I think, 5 research institutes that we have across the university. And our focus is very much on sustainability. So today I'm going to give you a bit of an overview about what is happening at the global scale. And then I'm kind of going to zoom in on what's actually happening within ARU. So within the Global Sustainability Institute, we focus on 4 key areas. Those are consumption and change, risk and resilience, ecosystems and well-being, and education for sustainability. So the area that I'm concerned with is education for sustainability. And this is basically about sort of trying to make sure that what you are learning during the time that you spend at Anglia-Ruskin is preparing you for the future in the way that you need to be prepared for the future. Because we know that the future is going to be a completely different place. And, you know, the careers are going to be completely different. So we need to make sure that we are teaching you things that are relevant and are going to support you throughout your careers. So the research that we focus on at the Global Sustainability Institute is it's about both personal motivation and system change. And it's kind of looking at all of this through the lens of the challenges created by sustainability, which are vast. And I'll talk about that a little bit more as I move on. So our core research question is, how does the system influence the individual, and how does the individual influence the system? And this is something that I would really like all of you listening just to think about as I talk through the rest of my presentation. And maybe we can come back to that in the plenary, because I think it's something that we're all trying to figure out, especially within the sustainability world. So it'd be really interesting to hear your opinions on this. So to give you this kind of overview about what's happening at a global scale, this is it really. This is the Sustainable Development Goals. So these are 17 goals that the global community, so that's I think 193 countries around the world, have signed up to. They are 17 targets that are sort of setting us on a path to achieving sustainable development. So they cover a whole range of issues, from no poverty, no hunger, good health, climate action, responsible consumption, etc. So they're really, really broad, encompassing everything you can kind of think of. And one of the central sort of tenets of these goals is that they are indivisible. So we cannot achieve no poverty if we're sort of massively overreaching our environmental boundaries, our environmental limits. Okay, so they're all interconnected, and that's a really important thing to take away from this. One of the downsides, to me anyway, of these goals is that they are not legally binding. So, for example, if our government is not achieving, reduced inequalities or responsible consumption, the target for these goals is 2030. So if citizens think we're not doing a good enough job, there's no mandate or no legal requirement for us to, or sort of legal framework that enables us to take our government to court, for example, and sort of say, you're not achieving these, we want you to do more. So instead, the goals actually rely on pre-existing frameworks such as the UN Convention of Human Rights. And to me, this is it's quite a flaw in these goals. But anyway, we can again maybe talk about this a little bit more in the plenary. So I have a very short video here that that Christina is going to put in the chat, and it'd be great if you could just mute yourselves if you're not already muted and just watch that video. It's sort of 2 or 3 minutes long, and I think it just really helps to bring the goals to life and for you to see what this actually looks like in practice. So Christina, if you're able to share that, that would be great. So if someone could just give me a thumbs up when you've finished watching. Sorry, this is the downside of doing it like this, but I think the quality is much better. Okay. Yeah, okay, Beatrice is giving me the thumbs up, so I'm gonna continue. And if you haven't finished watching it, then you can go back to it in your own time. That's absolutely fine. So hopefully that video has sort of provided you with a kind of nice overview of what the goals are. I think it's really accessible and sort of it's quite simple, but also I think covers quite a lot of complex issues. So I like it a lot. So that video was made in 2015 when the goals were launched, but what has actually changed since then? So to my mind, the most important change that we've seen in the last 5 years is the signing and agreement of the Paris Climate Change Agreement. So that actually took place in 2015, but the actual signing event happened in 2016. So the Paris Climate Agreement is, I think the most significant way that we've sort of progressed this 2030 agenda of the SDGs. The reason that I think the Paris Climate Agreement is so important is because, unlike the SDGs, it is actually legally binding. So around 197 countries around the world, I think, signed up to the goals, and that represents 97% of the emissions produced worldwide. So huge amounts there. They signed up, they agreed to keep global warming to ideally well below 2 degrees, or definitely well below 2 degrees, but ideally no more than 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels. And just to give you a little bit of context, we are already at 1.1 degrees worth of warming. So this is one of the reasons that you might have heard in the last year or a couple of years that countries are coming out and saying we need to reach net zero, and this is our target to reach net zero. And the most significant one, I think, that was announced was China saying that by 2060 they are aiming to reach net zero. And that is absolutely crucial to making sure that we maintain this target of reaching the Paris Climate Agreement, of staying within the 2 degrees as a maximum, and at the sort of best case scenario with 1.5 degrees, staying below that. So as I said, this is legally binding, and actually what started happening around the world is that citizens in countries where they feel that their government is not sort of taking action that sort of respects the Paris Climate Agreement have started taking their countries, their governments to court. And this happened in the Netherlands recently, and I think they were successful. And the government had to, make a whole sort of list of announcements about what they were going to do to sort of remain in line with these agreements and targets. You'll see in the picture on the right that there are 2 red areas, which is the US. So Donald Trump, whilst he was president, one of the sort of decisions that he made was to withdraw the US from the Paris Climate Agreement. Thankfully, one of Biden's first executive agreements or actions was to bring them back in. So it's really crucial because the US is the second largest emitter in the world. So if they had left the Paris Climate Agreement, there's no way that we would have met those targets or be anywhere near meeting those targets. So the Paris Climate Agreement, one of the things that's built into this is that every 5 years, countries will reassess their targets, and this is happening again. Or this is happening this year in Glasgow in November 2021, and it's really important, and you're probably going to see quite a lot of build up to this. It's called COP26, Conference of the Parties. So just to be aware that that's happening this year. So what else has happened? There's been the Black Lives Matter protests, and that's kind of, I think, swept the USA, also the UK, but kind of the world really, demonstrating that systemic racism is still absolutely institutionalized really. And I think certainly within Anglia-Ruskin, and I'll come back to this at the end, but I think within lots of organisations around the UK, people are sort of stepping back and reflecting on what they are doing to sort of promote anti-racism within their organisations. So to me, it really was a very powerful movement and a continuing movement. In the last 5 years, also we've had COVID-19, obviously still affecting us. But to me, this just demonstrates how crucial and how important it is that we achieve goal 3, which is around health and well-being in the Sustainable Development Goals. I think what COVID has done, potentially more than anything, is to highlight the inequality that exists in our country, between countries, and also just within cities. So Cambridge is the most unequal city in the UK, which is not a great statistic for us to have. And there are still children within Cambridge, but also within the UK, who don't have access to laptops, for example. So they're unable to do their schoolwork from home. So I think COVID has really, really highlighted this ongoing inequality that we absolutely need to tackle urgently. It's a really urgent issue. And I think that links really nicely to this point, that during the pandemic, 10 billionaires gained over 400 billion boost to their wealth during the pandemic. So this, to my mind, links to what I was saying at the beginning around whether it's the system or whether it's the individual. And yeah, during COVID, lots of families have been pushed into poverty, but it's also meant that the wealthiest people in in the world have gained huge amounts of money. So yeah, there's this sort of renewed call for fairer taxes. And again, this is maybe something we can come back to in the plenary at the end. The final thing that I think has been kind of momentous over the last 5 years is the development of the School Strike for Climate and Greta Thunberg. So again, she started out as one individual sitting outside the Swedish Parliament, going on strike every Friday because she wanted her government to be doing more on climate change. And as a result, she has sparked this worldwide movement, and there literally been millions of young people and citizens that have taken to the streets to demand that we are doing more to achieve these goals. And this leads quite nicely to what we're doing here at Anglia Ruskin. So you can see in these pictures, this is actually a solidarity event that we held on the 20th of September 2019. And this was part of the Global Strike for Climate. So it was kind of a worldwide event to support young people who'd been participating in the Youth Strike for Climate. So you can actually see in the picture on the right there, that is the Chief Operating Officer at Anglia Ruskin, James Rolfe. So we had speakers from within Anglia Ruskin and also from the local community. And this, what James stood up there and said sort of kick-started the work that we've been doing at Anglia Ruskin to create a new sustainability strategy. So, I think it's a really nice way of demonstrating that the global and the local are intimately connected, and what we do at one kind of affects the other. So yeah, this was sort of the beginning discussions around our sustainability strategy, which was published in October 2020. And actually, you can see all of the videos. So we recorded all of the talks from that day, and they're all available on YouTube. And I'll post that maybe in a minute when Beatriz is presenting, so you can have a look at another time. So very quickly, just to say what is actually happening in our sustainability strategy. So again, I'm going to post the link in the chat rather than go through all of this. But essentially, the strategy covers our campus, our education, our curriculum, and our research. So it's really taking a whole institution approach and looking at every single thing that we are doing as a university, and thinking about how sustainability intersects with this. So I won't go over these in detail, but just to very quickly summarise what is Anglia Ruskin already doing. So we have the launch of the Ruskin modules from September 2021, and this is something Beatriz is going to talk about. We're starting to create more interdisciplinary networks. So it's within sustainability, essentially this, you cannot achieve sustainability through siloed thinking and siloed working. So we need to bring together different disciplines to tackle some of these really complex problems. So that's starting to happen within Anglia Ruskin. We had a Sustainable Fashion Week in October that was entirely student-led. Last week was the SU Sustainability Week. There's a new Sustainability Society, or a new committee members in the society, so definitely get involved in that. Anglia Ruskin has been named 9th in the UK for social inclusion in this year's Good University Guide. We're also participating in Advance HE's Race Equality Charter and working towards silver in the Athena Swan accreditation. So that's for gender equality across area. So I'm going to stop there because I think I might have gone over slightly, but I will now pass over to Beatrice. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Can you stop the presentation for a second while I talk to people?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody, for attending. It's incredible the amount of people who are interested in this, making time for wondering and talking and listening about what is the value of money. And I think that this is the first question that I would like to start with. What do we value? What is the value that we give to money? There is a question that in a lot of workshops about leadership and professional development and personal development, people give is, if there is no problems about money or time, what would be the things that you were doing? And most of the times, people come with a list of things that are not that extraordinary, but they are within reach, which shows in a way that the things that we really value are within our reach. And money sometimes is an excuse, an invention, a socially constructed invention to reach what we want. So that is the question that I would like to leave in the air for a moment. What do we value? What do we want to be? And that also takes me to some of the things that Victoria talked about, and the Sustainable Development Goals. And in a way, if you think about the Sustainable Development Goals, there are 17, there are many, but they are a framework to understand and to deal with the complexity of the problems, the challenges, but also the opportunities. I feel that sometimes we get too kind of, everything is really poopy, you know. We cannot do so many things about it because it's so horrible and we don't know how to start. And I feel that what Victoria is saying, and she was remarking, was that we, you, me, all of us, we can make a difference. Because why Amazon is rich? Because I have plenty of things that I ask from Amazon, you know. So a lot of ideas that are in the Sustainable Development Goals, like responsible production and consumption, touches us as individuals, as consumers, as members of groups, also as professionals, as entrepreneurs, as students, as leaders, etc. So what I want to highlight is that there is the possibility that we take actions about the things that we value, the things that we want us to have, but also the world to have. Because of course you think about having and having and having, but there is another level of having, which is giving, which is so nice. And perhaps this is because Bill Gates is stepping off and wanting to give back more. Well, all of that is debatable, but that's an interesting point. But what I want to highlight is that all of us, we have power, we have a possibility, we have potential, we have opportunities. So that is something that I wanted to leave there. So what are we doing at the university about sustainability? Well, I have been at the university for 12 years, and we have been doing so much. From creating the Global Sustainability Insititute and having a person like Victoria, Tait, and Alison Gray, who are the coordinators of Education for Sustainability, and also to open the discussion about sustainability, that it is not about hugging trees or the environmental aspects, but much more complex issues about social justice, economy, justice, equality, etc. But those problems are cannot be tackled by a single discipline. And one of the big pushes for the university in the last 2 years is try to be more interdisciplinary. So the other thing that is important, and now I will ask Victoria if she can share the screen, is the issue of our futures. And I'm saying futures for us because, well, I hope that I have some more time for working, and to, most importantly for me, is to contribute with my knowledge, my talents, and my superpowers to society. And this is from a very recent report of the Future of Jobs 2020. And it says that although the number of jobs destroyed will be surpassed by the numbers of jobs of tomorrow, job creation is slowing while job destruction accelerates. So there is a moment in which things are changing so quickly, and the pandemic and the COVID crisis is accelerating those changes. But what we need to think is, what are our superpowers and the skills that we are acquiring that will enable us to have a role in this future, or in this present if you want, and at the same time make a contribution toward these sustainable ideals and the values that we hold dear. And the top skills and groups are critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, active learning, resilience, stress tolerance, and flexibility. And if you have a look on that, it doesn't say anything about numeracy, grammar, writing a good essay, and all those things that are normally assessed, or that we think, or getting good marks. Nobody's saying here, oh, the people with the good marks will get good jobs. No, the people who have these skills of critical thinking, of being creative, of being resilient, being personable, are going to be getting jobs. We talk with a lot of employers, and they say that they never look at the grades. What they want is people that they want to work with. People, because learning skills, you can learn it on the road, on the process. But how you put yourself in an attitude of learning and wanting to do things, that is what matters. So as Chris Whitty will say, next slide, please. So the Ruskin modules, oh, I love the Ruskin modules because are new modules that are going to be taken by the students in level 5. So what is called second year, I don't know, it's all this terminology. And they are going to be open to everybody at the university, and it's compulsory. It's 15 credits, so it's not like, oh my God, if I don't do this Ruskin module, I will fail everything, but it will give you enough incentive to go through it. And it's part of the education strategy that was mentioned by Victoria, of doing things that are more connected with active learning, with authentic assessment, and with those problems of the world. And the Ruskin modules are framed in the form of questions. So next slide, please. Well, so sorry, this is, so the Ruskin modules have an element of interdisciplinarity. So we work around questions that require not only one discipline, but several disciplines. For example, we have things like why teamwork doesn't work. Yeah, yeah, we all see we need to work in teams, but why there is so much disconnection. So we have people from sociology, from psychology, from management, from history, from sociology, saying why this is not working or how can it work. We are also the Ruskin modules are designed around employability. So we want those skills that I mentioned before, critical thinking, problem solving, flexibility, resilience, etc. And we want also to work with these wicked problems where ambiguity and uncertainty are part of it. So I think that when sometimes I don't know what type of person you are, but sometimes you want to have everything clear, where are you going, etc. But COVID is showing us everything that we thought that was certain is not. So instead of kind of, oh, it's so uncertain, oh my God. So how can we react to that? And all the Ruskin modules, of course, are informed by the active curriculum, by the idea of inclusivity, diversity, and accessibility, the Sustainable Development Goals, and the Graduate Capital that I'm very sure you know them very well, but this is not a presentation for that. So if you want to know more, I can send you to that. So next slide, please. So the idea of the Ruskin modules, as I said, is that they are, the message for you guys is, no, not guys, people, beautiful people, guys, white guys, sorry, is they are totally different. It's not what you are expecting because they are very creative. And most importantly, they come from the passion of the teams. And we have in the team students, we have lecturers who want to share with you a question. They might not give you the answer, but we together, you, us, we will be thinking about that. So next slide, please. So there are a lot of Ruskin modules, and we need to have much more, of course, if we want them open to everybody in the university. And we have titles like, what does social justice means? Victoria was talking about social justice and racism and equality and all these issues, but what does it mean for you, for me, for the university, for our society? The one that I mentioned before, why teamwork does not always work, which I really like that title. To be or not to be enterprising, which is one module that was created with the students of 4 faculties who were asking other students, what do you want to have in a module like that? And we have people from theater, we have people from the police, and we have people from management working on this module. What about this one? On the ascent, can a smell change the world? What are you smelling around? What does it smell is so prevalent. And sometimes when a smell reminds you something that you thought that was hidden in your memory, and the importance of a smell in design and also in healing, in memory, in Alzheimer research, etc. It's a fascinating one. So we have so many of those, and if you want to have a look, there is the Canvas site that I will put it later in the chat. So please have a look, because next year people who are in level 4 will have to start to think, oh, which Ruskin module I'm going to do. So next slide, please. So what to do, ladies and gentlemen? Talk to your personal tutor or advisor about the Ruskin modules option. They are going to be already in May 2021, and you need to choose one. Have a look on the Canvas site. It is constantly updated. So, well, we are only 2 in the team at the moment. So can imagine we want to change the world to 2 people, 2 part-time people, but we will. And check what is available and have a look, peruse. This sounds to me interesting. Let's say that you are not in level 5 or going to level 5, but you want to get involved. Please contact us, because we want you to be involved. And choose something that tickles your interest. It doesn't have to be, oh, this is going to be good for my career. No, not anymore, people. We really need to break with that way of thinking. We have to be thinking, is this good for me? Is this going to make me tickle? Is this going to make me critical, problem solving? Go beyond my so-called comfort zone, which is never comfortable. So I would say the wackier, the better. And, well, enjoy a new way of teaching and learning, because it's going to be very much not about recipes, formulas, or frameworks, but questions. So it's going to be what we call co-created between students, practitioners, and academics. And most importantly, own it. As I said, have a look on the web page, on the Ruskin Canvas page, and have a look. Come to our meetings. We are having on Mondays, we have a Ruskin module open studio. We have it here in my studio in the garden, virtually, and we do creative things, and we talk a lot about how to design these modules, but also you get tools for you. Contact us and tell us what you expect. And next slide, please. So, Ruskin modules are wicked, like the wicked problems of the Sustainable Development Goals. And these are the people that you can contact. my super boss, mistress minder of the Ruskin modules, Elaine Brown, and myself, Beatriz Acevedo, at angliahc.uk. So I hope that I haven't gone so far away, and open to questions.
Yeah, thank you very much for that presentation. That was very thought-provoking. I really appreciate it. We will now, as Beatrice says, open the call to questions. So if you could raise your virtual hand and then unmute yourself and ask your question, we can get started. Yeah, Zach?
Hi guys, thank you so much for your presentation so far. It's been really excellent. So we talk about like what we can do as individuals, like what actions we can take in order to contribute towards the SDGs. But also this topic is intertwined with money. And so what can we do with our financial capabilities to contribute towards the bigger picture, other than just our actions that we carry out in our day-to-day lives? Thank you.
Do you want to go, Victoria? I have some idea, but you go on.
So I can just very quickly jump in there and say, actually, I think it's not something I mentioned, but money is one of the most powerful ways that as an individual you can take action. So think about who you bank with. I know you're a bit young for this, but when you graduate, you're going to have a job and you're going to have a pension. And pension funds are one of the biggest investors in fossil fuels. So think about where your pension is and divesting that or shifting it. Usually, employers will offer you one or two different pension options. If they don't, lobby your employer, get together a group of colleagues and say, look, we are investing in fossil fuels. This is completely ridiculous. We need to shift our money. We need to think more we need to think differently about this. And I think big financial institutions are slowly coming around to this. I think particularly within the insurance industry, because they're having to bail out or pay out huge amounts of money each time there's a hurricane or a wildfire that destroys homes. Insurance companies are recognizing that they are going to be the ones that are paying out huge amounts of money. They're going to go bankrupt, to be quite honest. So they have an incentive to start tackling climate change as well. But I think as individuals, think about who you bank with, and think about your pension. That's something I would say there. So I think we do have quite a lot of power. There's also your ability, as we were saying, as consumers, to think about where you're spending money. But I'll pass over to Beatrice now.
No, that's the one. Responsible consumption and production. I'm a big fan of that, to think, especially in the clothing industry. How many clothes you own? Do you know where they come from? Do you know where they are made? Do you know the ethical credentials of the brands that you are favoring? Little questions. That is to be critical. Yeah. You can't choose to keep on buying to, I don't know, Nike, Adidas, but knowing is important. So that knowledge and that questioning, where this come from, and that's an important one.
We'll move on to another question. If you could raise your virtual hand. Yeah, Sarah? Was saying?
Hi. I had the same question that Zach had, as in I'm trying to be more sustainable as possible, and one of the biggest issue I find is money, as in every time you try to buy organic vegetables or buy something good for the environment is relatively more expensive than normal. For personal experience, I can say that I'm plastic free in my household, or at least single-use plastic free. I got utensils, stuff that I can reuse. But when it comes to more degradable goods, I quite struggle. As in, you try to buy stuff from charities or give whatever you don't use to charity. Because just yesterday I was listening to a podcast that 85% of what is called fast fashion clothes, they go to landfills. They're absolutely fine, but people just get over new trends. So the thing is what we can actually do with the money that we have, considering that we are students, so obviously our budget is restricted. What do you think is your best advice? I love the idea of the, thinking about like pension and everything, but my question is more like nowadays. Okay. Does it make sense?
Yeah, well, can I jump in?
Yeah, definitely. I just, looking for an answer because I've been trying, many ways, as in having reusable cups for coffee and other stuff, but I keep, the more I look into sustainable, podcasts or event and everything, I feel like I'm not doing enough. Does it make sense?
All right. That's an interesting point, what you're saying. Sustainability cannot become another tick in the list and another thing of the rat race. Now, on top of everything that you have to be successful, nice, kind, compassionate, sustainable. Now, sustainability, please take it off the list, because sustainability is also about being, and being kind with yourself, with the environment, with others. So I think that that's something to consider. And of course, there are many ways of, and well, probably you, Sarah, will know more than anybody if you are connected to these many websites and many conversations. But I coordinate 2 modules in the business school that ask that question. One of them is STEP, and I think that Nandes with us here, I think, who is the module tutor for that. And it's all about energy use. How much energy use are you having around your house? And there are a lot of energy vampires, so are you leaving things in a standby? So having a bit of audit of what are the energy suckers, energy vampires in your house, and things that you can reduce, electricity use or gas use, can be very easy way to, 1, save money, and 2, reduce your carbon footprint. So there are different ways that you can start by reducing your carbon footprint, starting by knowing what is your carbon footprint. This is one thing that we work in the module, but it's so easy to do. So it's almost, you don't need the module to do it. It's just common sense. And the other thing is all about the consumption, where your clothes, cosmetics, etc. come from. And 1, you can buy less. 2, I saw that there is a huge increase of apps and businesses that are about sharing clothes and swapping clothes. And so there are a lot about it. But sometimes it's not so much about the buying the clothes, but how you use them. If you wash them so much, what is the cycle that you are using for washing them. So and it depends of each of the clothes. So I think that the word here is kindness again. Kind of try to think how I'm living, what is my life around, and how I'm treating my things, my environment, my house. Yeah, that can be, I don't know, kinder, not even better. I don't want to have a sort of another metrics for life, but kinder, like that you feel happier with it. I don't know if that resolves the question, but keep on asking, but don't put yourself as a sort, now I'm going to be the sustainable girl because, not another thing.
No, thank you. It was actually really useful. I mean, I haven't thought about that way. It's just like, you keep trying to do it best, and then at some point you get stressed out of it. But I realize that even minor small steps, there are other people there are other people don't do it. So, maybe yes, kinder is, be kinder with myself is the answer. Thank you so much, though.
Have we got any other questions? Yeah, Tatiana.
Hi. Thank you so much for your presentation. It was really, really inspiring. And Victoria was talking about the COP26 that will happen this year by the end of the year. And I know one of their agendas is the race to zero net. And I've been looking at their partnership. They are partnering with universities. However, I didn't see our university there, and I was just wondering what could be the reason for that, if it's maybe lack of resources, finance, or maybe that's still on process on how can universities be more able to participate in this kind of initiatives that are so big and maybe require more than just a few people wanting to do this change, if that makes sense.
I think that's a great question, Tatiana. I think as we get closer to COP, there's going to be, I mean, you're going to see it in the news, but I think you're going to see people, if we're allowed, sort of out on the streets continuing with protests like the Youth Strike for Climate. I already know that within Cambridge, there's a group of people organising to try and get, I think, students, but also just citizens from across the city up to Glasgow to sort of be there in person and sort of demonstrate that we really want governments to show proper leadership on this. With regards to the university, I know that the director of the GSI, Aled Jones, I know he's in discussions with people about COP. But yeah, it's a really good question about sort of how widely ARU as a whole is involved. And it's something that I can't answer right now, but I'm going to go away and research it if that's okay. And, you know, I know that you are now the president of the Sustainability Society, so that's maybe something that as a new society, you know, you could make that one of your first campaigns to try and make sure that Anglia Ruskin is fully participating in everything to do with COP, or as much as we can.
Thank you so much.
Do we have any further questions? Yeah, Carol?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got 3 grown-up children now. They've all been students and everything, and one of them is a big fan of takeaway food, and I'm despairing of the amount of plastic, and I don't know what to do. It's I don't know if you guys are students as well, if you do lots of takeaways, but I don't know how do you train people, how do you change their way of acting, because it's driving me nuts. I don't know what to do.
I don't know if you have some advice, but my question is, what is exciting about takeaway? What is the value? And again, we come back to value that we attach to takeaway. Is that it's easy, it's tasty, it is, what is the value that he gets or they get from takeaway? Because
it's the treat.
There is no case of saying, no, don't do it. It's just what you get from that we can replace with other things.
Yeah, I understand that, but it's like for him it's a treat, like it's the food like dumplings and things like that. Like he can't make himself.
Okay, the treat. That takes in another direction in our relationship with food. No, what do you and it's a cultural relationship with food too, socially constructed or family constructed. But does he cook? Because if he likes food, he might like to cook, and he might realize that it's better to cook and it's more tasty. I don't know. There are some interesting things in the market about doing things like, you know, Hello Fresh, those things that make you to take time to cook and do things. But I don't know really. I'm not a big fan of takeaway, but I can see the appeal of it, you know, or that somebody is kind of serving you. I don't know. I think that it's beyond takeaways. What is the, talk to him? What is the value that he gets from takeaway? Which other ways you can have the same value? The feeling of a treat, the feeling of being served. What is what you get? But I think that Sarah has an answer here. So.
Hi. And sorry, Victoria, go on.
No. Sorry. I was just going to say, a couple of years ago, I worked in Malaysia, and takeaway is a big part of the culture there. And the person that I worked with, who's Malay, she would take her own Tupperware container to take away. So most people would get plastic containers from the shop that we went to. You know, that was absolutely the common standard thing, but she broke the mold and just took her own Tupperware, and everyone accepted it. You know, it was just a case of them filling that up rather than giving it to her in a plastic container. So I don't know how, you know, COVID is probably not the best time necessarily to be experimenting with these things, but, you know, you could try going to the whichever, you know, restaurant or shop it is that he goes to and just giving them your container to fill up rather than getting the plastic ones. And I think the other thing I'd say, which links to what Beatrice was saying, is just there's the care side, but there's also unkindness. But for me, there's also the consciousness and the sort of critical reflection. And you know, there's other problems with takeaways as well. Like there's these things linked to Deliveroo that are called dark kitchens. So it's where these companies, it's not a restaurant that you're buying from. It's just like a little shell basically that's been set up to just do takeaway food. And I think quite often the staff who are working there are working in really bad conditions as well. So it's really that whole holistic side of sustainability, you know, and the important point there is to do the research, to look at the company, to understand, you know, their ethical, their supply chains, how they treat the people that work for them. You know, if it's, and I think Deliveroo is also not so great for the people, like people working there as 0-hour contracts. So there's something in Cambridge called, what's it called? Food Stuff. And they've set up as more kind of sustainable, ethical alternative to Deliveroo. So there's things like that you can check out as well.
Yeah, I was exactly gonna say the same thing that Victoria said. You can check your local deliveries company, as in like Food Stuff. I think they're amazing. They do delivery just by bike, so it's like the radius, it's like quite central Cambridge, but they set up some like pick-up location just outside, and they collaborate with, you know, really great restaurants, and I work in one of them, so it's a little bit of advertising for me as well. And they choose, you know, I think that most of the restaurant has reusable like packaging for their food, and as I said, the delivery is by bike, so definitely zero emission, and they're like, you know, super kind, very nice people, very quick with the deliveries. Like every time I order from them, I think I got my food in, you know, less than 30 minutes, and there's a various range of possibility. And I guess that when it comes to what takeaways means to him or her, is yeah, it's a treat, which fair enough. I believe that treating yourself, you know, you kind of deserve it, but at the same time, is it takeaway because it's, pass me the word, lazy to cook, or is it not part of your culture? Like, I'm from Italy, and you know, in Italy, I don't think we do a lot of takeaway. Please, Victoria, correct me if I'm wrong. But you know, my mom always cooked my food for me. So when I came here, and all my friends were like, "Oh yes, let's do takeaway," and then you see the price. It's also like really expensive. Like one takeaway is like about, you know, £15, and you know, not even a big one. And I'm like, with £15, I can buy tons of vegetables from the market, and I can cook for like a week, 10 days. And it doesn't take, you know, much. I also know, you know, cooking is a bit of a stress if you're a student, it takes up time. But, you know, we all have YouTube and Instagram, and there's so many platforms outside where you can find recipes. And at the same time, you know, it's what youngers do, you know, you just go on your phone, check for something. And I believe that the satisfaction of doing it yourself and making it tasty will kind of make you rethink about the whole treat thing because it's delivered. I'm going to be honest, I never had takeaway before coming in the UK, and I've been here for 4 years. I think I got takeaway 3 times just because of Food Stuff. That's it.
Does it respond your question, or does it give you more more anxiety?
Yeah, if it was that simple, I would have got it, you know, by my side. But I hit a wall, and I'm French, so I know about food. But yeah, it's a difficult one. You know, it's the concept of the boy who's gaming all day, and then it hits very late at night, and it's just the whole routine. And with COVID, it's just like, what do you do? What's the only treat you can give yourself is the takeaway sort of thing. And it's a very hard nut to crack, this one.
Yeah, but you have to work with him about, or with that person. You cannot give them the answer in a way at the end of the day.
Yeah, he started to cook, but it's not enough, really.
Or cook for cook some sort of food for longer days and keep it in little containers. I don't know. I think that you are a very creative person. I'm sure that you will get through it.
We'll see.
Don't give up.
Yeah. Thank you.
Do we have any further questions? Just time for a final question. No, we're all good. I think we're all good. Well, I'd just like to, end off the call by giving a massive thank you to all of the attendees of the Money Festival webinar. We hope you enjoyed the series of webinars we've been doing and putting on. Again, a massive thank you to the guest speakers who've given up their free time, especially to Beatriz and Victoria today for educating us on the Sustainable Development Goals. And again, I'd also like to thank you all for attending this event. Without you, the event wouldn't be so special, and we wouldn't be able to even sort of have such a webinar and have the support from the university and from our sponsors at ARU Student Union, ARU Business and Law, the 12 Runners website, which is the competition website, the Global Sustainability Insititute, and last but not least, I'd really like to thank the event team for all of their hard work in putting this event together. A lot of work has been put in behind the scenes. Over to Catherine.
Oh dear, sorry. Okay, thank you everyone for joining us. And yeah, I just would like to say that we intend to carry on with this series of free live webinars and workshops. If you would like to take part of this team, please get in contact with us. We would like to do it next year again, and at least until 2030, so we can all fulfill these Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. So thank you for your help, and I would like to pass you on to Tatiana.
Hi.
You're muted. You're muted.
Hello?
Yeah, there we go. Yep, we can hear you.
Yes.
Hello. So I was saying that I think we are definitely entering an era where young people are taking action, and they are really making themselves aware of the problems that we have out there. And it's thanks to you and thanks to everyone that is here on the call and who is not, and everyone that's been really engaging with the sustainable goals. And thank you for the team for making such big efforts for this to work. And I'm really happy that this is happening. And we hope that for the next year, we can have as much engaging people as we had this year, guest speakers, and even more people to be aware. And as Catherine said, to in 2030, make sure that we will live in a better planet, and that our children and grandchildren can really have a sustainable world where everything is not, well, it's never going to be perfect, but as much closer to have a safe place for everyone. So thank you again for this really great opportunity. And that's today is the last webinar, but it's the first step for us to start changing and engaging and just spreading the word out there. So thank you so much. Christina?
Hi everyone. Yeah, so this has been an amazing journey, and this is not the end for us. We are still having the Money Art competition that we really encourage you to give it a try, because after all these webinars, we really believe that we have challenged you to think in different ways about sustainability and money and the impact that you can have as a person. And I really want to thank the entire team for staying in this for such a long time, and for always trying to work together, even though it's been quite difficult, because as last year students, we have a lot on our mind. But I think it was great to work with such amazing people that really
inspired me to do everything and inspired me to try to work in a different way that I used to do. And obviously, I want to thank Catherine for starting everything and for bringing us together and for always challenging us to think bigger, because we do have the power to make an impact. And I think Catherine is the best person to show that. So I'm going to pass it over to Victoria now.
Well, yes, thank you for everything, team. But thank you,
Victoria,
Christina.
wait, I think your headphones are still not working.
No.
Okay, maybe try to leave a message in the chat so people can at least see it. We're really sorry for that.
I can hear Victoria.
Eve?
Yeah. I was just going to say, I could hear Victoria, but if there's any technical problems, I don't know. But I don't think I could really say it better than all of you have, really. I just think this event has been really inspiring, and I've definitely learned a lot from it, from the process of it and from the guest speakers that we have had. And I just want to thank you all for letting me be a part of your team, really. I've enjoyed it all, and even though I'm not maybe as confident, I think we've all worked very well together. So, thanks, guys.
I think we'll go back to you, Victoria. I think we could hear you. I think just technical difficulties on their side.
Can you hear me now? Yes. Yes. Okay. Well, thank you, Christine and Catherine, to propose us this event during the trimester. It was amazing to participate, to learn, to work together. It was an amazing journey. Thank you. Can you actually hear me? Some of you?
Yeah, we can hear you. Well, at least I can.
Thank you.
So yeah, I guess we're slowly closing out our bi-weekly webinars. I'd just like to reiterate to keep your eyes peeled on our social media at Money Festival 2020. For more information about the competition, we'll keep updating that. If you have any questions, please message us on our social media. There's also a breakdown on the competition website of the categories, how to enter, etc. And the winners will be announced on the 15th of March. And as usual, please check your emails for the post-event survey. We'd really appreciate if you could, voice your opinion, even just for this event or for your perception of how all of the 4 events went, just so we can make the experience a lot better for you guys next time and maybe get even more guest speakers. So I think we are ending the call there. Thank you very much for attending, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.